I like this rep count. This looks fair. This looks really fair and balanced.
You're welcome.
If we lose this game, I will throw a temper tantrum like a 5-year-old.
Welcome back, everyone. Sorry for my disappearance for a few months. Had a couple of life changes happening, so I was preoccupied with all that. But I'm back now with more content for you all. And okay, I know it might be stupid or cringy to say this, but the channel recently hit 1,000 subscribers. I honestly didn't ever expect this many people would deem my content worthy of their attention, but here we are, and that is all thanks to you guys, both those watching me and to my buddies behind the scenes. If you haven't seen it, I made a special 1K subs thank you video. It's only a couple minutes long, so it's super short, but it would be awesome for you to check it out and thank the many people behind the scenes making this channel what it is today. Thank you all so very much for your support and constructive criticism. I really could not have made it without you. As you read in the title of this video, today we will be focusing on For Honor's perk system, as well as its armor system. At first it might seem a little odd to discuss both topics, but as you'll learn, armor and perks are completely intertwined, and it's essentially impossible to talk about one and not the other. That's why I decided to explain both of them in this guide video. Today's itinerary starts us with what perks are in their most general state. Then we'll move on to a brief explanation of what each perk does and whether or not it's worth prioritizing. Next, we'll look at how to acquire perks through the use of collecting and upgrading equipment. Finally, we'll end with specific, powerful, and unique perk builds. Perks are small buffs or changes that generally improve your hero's survivability, aggressiveness, or movement. Perks are divided into 3 categories: offensive, defensive, and assist perks, and each category comes with 7 unique perks, which means that there are 21 perks in total. I am just now realizing how many times I'm going to say the word perk in this video. Now, each character only has access to 7 perks, so by doing some dummy math here, individual heroes cannot have access to all 21. Some heroes, such as Warlord, have all 7 of the defense perks, but none from the other 2 categories. Gladiator is an example of having all 7 offensive perks, and Tiandi has access to all assist perks. Most heroes, though, have some combination of 2 categories, such as Black Prior, who has 4 defensive and 3 assist perks. Fun fact, there aren't any heroes who have perks spanning all 3 categories. Your hero will only have all perks from 1 category or a combination of perks from 2 categories. Furthermore, every category and hero has their perk options divided into tiers, denoting which perks are considered stronger and thus harder to obtain. In each of the 3 categories, there are 3 gray or common perks. From here, in ascending order, there is 1 of each blue or rare, purple or heroic, gold or epic, and green or legendary. For those with a keen eye, it's the same progression as gear, so that makes it easier to memorize. Regardless if your hero has all 7 perks from 1 category or a 4-3 split from 2 different ones, your hero will always have the same set of 3 common, 1 rare, 1 heroic, 1 epic, and 1 legendary perk. Now, this next part will be a little long, so feel free to skip ahead to this timestamp. This section will give a brief explanation and practical use of each of the 21 perks, but if you'd rather get to the other content of the video, feel free to skip ahead. First, we'll start with the offensive category, and as with all categories, I'll begin with the first 3 common perks and work my way up in ascending order. Galestorm. Upon hero kill, gain 20% movement speed for 10 seconds. It's pretty simple, you land a killing blow and now you can run around 20% faster for the next 10 seconds. The main application of Galestorm is to win a fight and then use your increased speed to rotate to your teammates elsewhere. It's okay, but not one I ever prioritize. Devour. Executions heal an extra 10 HP. Again, pretty simple. During an execution, the killing blow is when you deal the action that simultaneously gives you health and prevents your enemy's revive. If you have Devourer active, the execution gives you 10 extra HP than normal. Early Reaper. Upon spawn or revive, your next attack deals 30% more damage. Not to spoil anyone's fun here, but this is arguably one of the worst perks in the game. Not only do you have to meet a specific condition first, but once met, it is extremely difficult to get any value. If you've just spawned or gotten revived and your next attack is blocked and only deals chip damage, Early Reaper procs. If your next attack hits a minion or pikeman, Early Reaper procs. The only real use out of it is that it does affect feats, so a good strategy would be to spawn in or be revived and not perform any attack until you use a ranged projectile feat, such as Javelin or Longbow for 30% more damage. Endurance. Gain a 3% stamina cost reduction per renown level. When playing any game mode with feats active, you'll notice that as you gain a renown level, you unlock a new feat. This perk means that when you increase your renown level to unlock your next feat, you also get a permanent 3% stamina cost reduction buff. By doing simple math, you can figure out that with 4 total renown levels, you can earn up to a maximum of 12% permanent stamina cost reduction on all your attacks. This means that this perk is based on your individual performance. The better you perform and increase in renown level, the more value you'll get from that perk. Definitely better on heroes with an aggressive playstyle, especially heroes with multi-hit zones like Berserker, Shaman, Shaolin, and even Kaioshin's Triple Strikes. Survival Instinct. When in critical health, less than 25 HP, gain a 25% stamina cost reduction. Pretty self-explanatory, nothing for me to really add. Only that this perk is considered mediocre, since when you are at low health, you should be playing defensive and try to get revenge, but it can be helpful if you are playing an aggressive character and trying to make a comeback in a duel scenario. Crush them. Upon hero kill, your next attack deals 30% more damage. You'll notice a few things here. One, this is essentially the counterpart to the Early Reaper perk, in that you need to meet a criteria, and then your next attack will deal 30% more damage. Also here, the criteria is even harder to get, as you must land the final blow in killing an enemy, then prepare your next attack, such as a high damage feat, for your next move. This perk is considered to be equally as garbage due to its incredibly niche use. However, you could totally meme with this perk if you kill somebody, then toss a fire flask on his buddies. Headhunter. For each unique hero executed, maximum health is increased by 4 HP. Every time you execute someone for the first time that match, your maximum health pool is increased by 4 HP. Having 4 total enemies on the other team, that means the maximum value from this perk is permanently adding 16 HP to your health pool. Now, pay attention, as this perk doesn't mean every execution gives you a 4 health bonus to your maximum health pool. The key word you're looking for here is unique. That means the first time I execute a particular conqueror on the opposing team, I'll increase my total HP by 4. It doesn't matter how many times I keep executing him, I already got the benefit from the conk the first time, so I'll need to execute the other heroes to get another plus 4 instead. This is why the maximum value is 16 HP, since there can only be a maximum of 4 unique enemies. Overall, I think this is a strong perk, but it's definitely a risk reward. It can be difficult to even get a singular execution, let alone get executions off on all 4 enemies. I think this perk is better in Breach as opposed to Dominion, as those games last a lot longer and give more time to execute unique enemies. Overall, at maximum value, this means you are able to absorb an additional 2 light attacks or require 1 more heavy to take down, even though most heavies deal more than 16 damage. Now let's move on to the defensive perks. This section is considered the strongest category of perks, so you'll want to prioritize these. Aegis. All shields received are boosted by 20%. Extremely self-explanatory, and this applies to all shields. I don't really prioritize this one, but it's great for Yorm with his special tier 2. Shields up. Upon revive, gain a 25 health shield that lasts for 15 seconds. Not anything special, I don't find much use, but it does have synergy with Aegis and pretty much anything else that could give you shields. Bastion. When in a zone or carrying an offering or banner, gain 10% damage resistance. This is considered an A tier perk as you get value in most places in Dominion, but this also works in Breach, on the ramparts, healing zone, and even really close to the ram. Definitely prioritize this perk. Vengeful Barrier. When exiting Revenge, gain a 25 HP shield that lasts for 15 seconds. This one is also very strong, as it greatly increases your survivability. Usually, when in Revenge, you are already at low health, so getting an additional 25 HP is a great advantage. This perk also synergizes with Aegis, Bastion, and Last Stand, which we will discuss next. Last Stand. When in critical health, less than 25 HP or a bar of health, gain 40% damage resistance. This perk is considered S tier. Being able to take an extra 2 hits at times, even chunking through a heavy attack with only a bar of health, is insanely strong and has tilted the outcome of many fights. What's more, this perk synergizes with Vengeful Barrier. If you are at critical health, you will get the 40% damage resistance. If you get Revenge and then exit Revenge, still with the critical health, the 25 health shield from Vengeful Barrier will also have 40% damage resistance applied to it. This is because the shield doesn't count as normal HP, thus if you are low enough, you will still get the benefits from Last Stand. What is also important is Last Stand and Bastion don't stack. Only one is applied at a time. Bastion will cover you until you are in critical health, and then Last Stand will take over. Fresh Focus. When out of stamina, blocks, parries, and counter guard breaks recover 20% of stamina. This feat is solid at minimizing max punishes against you, and can mean a difference in health in a pinch, but if you're good at managing your stamina, you won't really need this perk. Bulk Up. Gain 4 health points maximum health per renown level. This perk is considered an equal alternative to Last Stand, but I, and most people I know, typically favor Last Stand. It's super simple. Every time you gain your next renown level, your maximum health pool is increased by 4 total health, which means that once you unlock your 4th tier feat, you'll also have 16 HP added to your total health pool. I think it's decent, but it takes most of your match to get any real value, so I don't typically use it. Here's on to the final section, the assist perks. This section also has some strong perks, so listen up. Radiant Rebound. Upon spawn or revive, gain a 20% boost to movement speed for 10 seconds. While this feat might seem trivial, it actually has an important use. Rotations. If you've seen my Dominion guide, you'll understand the importance of proper rotations. This feat helps you do that, especially right when you spawn at the beginning of the match and want to get to a zone, or when you respawn and need to rotate to your teammates ASAP. It can also be helpful when being revived and you need to dart to a healing zone, but rotating to your teammates after respawning is its primary application. Remedy. Upon hero kill, gain 10 HP. Must land the final hit to count. When you deal the final blow to an opponent, you instantly gain 10 health. It's worth getting in many loadouts, and one of the better perks in my opinion. Feline Agility. Gain 4% movement speed when reaching Renown level 1, and 2% for each subsequent level. This is pretty self-explanatory, and means at max Renown level, you'll have a permanent 10% movement speed buff. It's not the worst, and it can be helpful for those rotations, but I don't usually prioritize this one as it takes a while to get any noticeable value. Supersonic. In Revenge, gain 15% movement speed and uninterruptible sprint. This remains active for 10 seconds after Revenge ends. Again, very self-explanatory. I really don't think this one is worth your time, but it can be helpful for you solo queuers out there who never seem to have teammates backing you up and you need a quick means of escape when being ganked. Try and get Revenge, then as you run away, you run faster and can't be hit out of it. Clever Tactics. Capture zones and use banners and offerings 15% faster. This one is considered one of the worst perks in the game. In Dominion, the time to capture zones is already super fast, so this doesn't even make a noticeable impact. In Tribute, you only get value from using the offerings, which is still rather niche even for that game mode. The one place I think this perk has any value is in Breach, if you are on the attacking team, as the ramparts count as capturable zones. Since those zones take a while to capture, the 15% is actually pretty nice, but for me, this is where the value begins and ends. Rising Dawn. Revive allies up to 75% HP. As you all know, you normally revive teammates at 50% of their max health, so reviving them with an additional 25% is a nice quality of life. I wouldn't say this is inherently game-changing, but it can work well in a fun loadout I'll share later. Rapid Refresh. Upon hero takedown, which means kill or assist, or when reviving an ally, all feat cooldowns are reduced by 5%. This applies to active feats and passive feats that have cooldowns. This is another one of the S tier perks, and should be prioritized. As you just read, kills, assists, and revives all shave off 5% of your cooldowns, which means getting those powerful feats back faster. The only reason you wouldn't want this perk is if you are running a loadout with mostly passive feats, as most of those lack any kind of cooldown, so this perk wouldn't even apply to them at all. This perk is most effective when using all active feats and allows you to spam more powerful abilities. Now that all of that is finally done and out of the way, we're going to go ahead and start looking at how the gear actually works. After you've decided what perks you want, you'll need to acquire 600 perk points of that specific perk accumulated across all of your currently equipped gear. Once you reach this 600 point minimum, that perk will be considered activated, and you'll be able to reap its benefits. You can tell which perks are active by looking at the right side of your hero's gear interface, at something I call the ability bar. This ability bar has all of your hero's available perks, with the ones currently activated being filled in white. Every hero has 6 gear slots, 3 for armor and 3 for their weapon. The 3 for armor are always helm, chest, and arms, but the weapon pieces for each hero differ greatly, but there will always be 3. Every piece of gear will have 1 or 2 perks that come attached, and these perks are represented by their specific symbol. The higher level the gear, the more likely it will have 2 perks associated with it, with the last couple of tiers always having 2 perks. Looking at the bottom right of the screen, you'll notice the perk symbols for the piece of gear you are looking at, along with a few numbers. For example, this chest from my Centurion has the perk Endurance. The first number, the 270, will be how many points this chest is currently contributing towards the total endurance points in my loadout. The second number, the 290, is the maximum perk points this chest can contribute when it is upgraded to its highest level. You can only upgrade each perk on a piece of gear a few times before it's fully upgraded. You can tell how many more upgrades are available by the number of empty black bars beneath the perk icon on your gear. As you upgrade that perk, the black bars will fill in white. If you gain legendary gear after rep 9, you'll notice these little diamonds called pips. They used to mean more in the old For Honor gear system, a topic for another time, but now all they mean is another additional upgrade for that perk. Most of the time, you'll only see 2 pips for your gear, but gear from higher reps can actually get up to 4 pips. This is where I recommend waiting to try and get your optimal perk builds until you are higher repped, especially if you are going for a 3 perk build. It's definitely possible to get 3 perks at rep 8, but it is much easier if you wait to spend your scavenger crates or steal on salvaging gear once you hit rep 9 in order to get that pippable gear. As you increase your hero's reputation, you receive higher rarity gear. Gear with higher rarity will come with perks that have a higher total and possible perk points. This is where we move into upgrading gear. Whenever I upgrade my piece of gear, I don't upgrade the gear piece as one whole. Rather, I choose the specific perk on that gear that I want to upgrade. Upgrading a perk does 2 things. 1. It raises the overall gear score of that gear piece. 2. When I choose a perk to upgrade, I will be increasing the perk points that specific gear contributes. Looking at the ability bar, you'll notice that the total perk points across all your currently equipped gear are displayed as a number underneath that perk icon, and indicated as a yellow bar. Before you upgrade your gear, you'll notice a green sliver, which means you'll be adding to the total points towards that perk. If you swap to a different piece of gear without that perk, you'll notice a red bar, indicating you will lose those perk points once equipped. You'll also notice this extremely subtle, yet handy device for acquiring the gear perks you want. Say you are trying to get the perk Remedy. As you acquire gear with Remedy points, you'll notice the yellow bar increase from left to right. Eventually, one of 2 things will happen. 1. That bar and the circle around the perk icon will all turn green. This means that by equipping or upgrading that piece of gear, you will have the minimum 600 points to activate that perk and gain its benefits. 2. The bar will reach the end of the line and the ring around the perk icon will be filled in, but this time it will remain yellow. If this happens, that means the perk isn't yet active, but you have the ability to activate that perk with the current gear you have equipped. You just need to upgrade that perk on your currently equipped gear pieces. The key though is to look for that ring. If it's not there, or you notice you don't have the 600 minimum, that means no matter how much upgrading you do, your currently equipped gear will not be able to reach the 600 point minimum. This should go without saying, but if you ever have a perk and then swap gear and notice the icon of your perk turns red, that means that changing that gear piece will result in deactivating that perk. Very important addition, you can have up to 60 pieces of gear for each hero before you stop gaining new equipment. When you want to make more space, you can dismantle gear, which will destroy it, but it will give you salvage in return. The higher the rarity of the dismantled gear, the more salvage you receive, and salvage is a required resource when upgrading gear, along with steel. Before I go any further, there's some important information to know. The maximum number of active perks a hero can have is 3. This is due to the scarcity of perk points for higher tiered perks, so you can't just choose whichever 3 you want. Not all perk combinations are possible. This is because the higher the rarity the perk is classified as, the smaller the maximum perk points can be found on any given piece of gear. If you're looking to activate one of the higher tier perks, remember all perks have a 600 point minimum required in order to be activated. But with higher tier perks coming with a smaller total of points on each gear piece, you'll need to commit more pieces of gear to that specific perk. For example, let's say I have some legendary gear, and I want to make a 3 perk build. I could choose to have a build with all 3 of my hero's common perks, but I could not have all 3 of the top tier perks, having the legendary, epic, and heroic perk. I could only choose 2 of those, with no other perks. Here's an image of all the possible perk combinations for each rarity of gear. This image is not from me, this is taken from the For Honor Information Hub, which I will link in the description. I've also used their info as well as their perk images throughout this whole video, and they have all the For Honor information you could possibly be looking for, so please go check it out.
Now I know this is kind of a lot, so to make this easier, I'll walk you through getting a 3 perk loadout for my Tiandi. Let's say I want to give my Tiandi the perks Radiant Rebound, Remedy, and Rapid Refresh. First, I make sure my hero is rep 9. Then I'll head to the Scavenge Gear section and begin using my crates. Remember, I'm looking for gear with the perks Radiant Rebound, Remedy, and Rapid Refresh. I'll take a look at the 5 pieces of gear I just got from using my crate, and I'll look at whichever ones have the matching symbols.
After I've gotten some gear, it's time to look at my haul. I'll weed through and salvage all the gear I don't want, then begin messing with combinations of the gear with my desired perks. I'll try to get the best combination I can find, but I won't delete any of the extra gear just yet. Without knowing what gear I could find next, I might end up swapping a piece of gear here or there to make the full loadout. I'll just repeat this process until I can get all 3 of my desired perks to have the yellow ring around their icons, which means I've found gear with everything I need. Now begins the upgrading phase. You'll notice that each time you upgrade a perk, it will become more expensive with each upgrade. To keep your upgrading the most cost effective, cycle through all of your gear with the perk you want to upgrade, and always do the cheapest option first. Once all 3 perks are activated, voila, I'm done, and I'm ready to hit the battlefield with my completed perk loadout.
There's also a cool side note I wanted to add here. I'm on PlayStation, so I don't know what the button is for everyone else out there, but if you hit R2, you'll bring up what's called the advanced view, and here you can scroll through all your armor and you can see each of the perks and how much they are contributing and their maximum values for every piece of gear you currently have equipped for your entire loadout all at once. So this is pretty handy if you're really looking for that advanced view.
Now let's take a look at some specific perk builds. One that I use frequently is Bastion, Vengeful Barrier, and Last Stand. I like to call this the Fortress setup. Bastion gives me 10% damage resistance, then I'll jump up to 40% resistance once I reach critical health from Last Stand, and then if I get Revenge, I'll have a small shield when exiting Revenge, given by Vengeful Barrier. This perk setup is very common and widely considered the best setup in the game. I absolutely love it, as your survivability and stalling potential skyrockets.
Oh.
This is a build I came up with some time ago that I run on Shinobi. I wouldn't call this an optimal build, but it's super fun and I like calling it the healer build. You'll want the perks Devourer, Remedy, and Headhunter. As you'll notice, these are all health-based perks, but you'll want to take this even farther with his feat setup. Here, you'll want to run Bounty Hunter, Executioner's Respite, Nuke Kubi, and Yamauba. I definitely did not pronounce those correctly. All of these deal with health except for the tier 3, but that still helps with stamina regeneration, so it's close enough. Everything complements each other. Whenever you deal the final blow to an enemy, both Bounty Hunter and Remedy proc, immediately giving you a chunk of HP. Then, if you can get a successful execution off, both Executioner's Respite and Devourer will proc, giving you even more bonus healing, not even including the regular health from the execution. This means that by just simply killing and executing someone, you've gotten 5 different sources of healing: Bounty Hunter, Remedy, the execution itself, Executioner's Respite, and Devourer. Literally full healing from a single execution. If that wasn't enough, landing successful hits on your opponent gives you health and stamina from his tier 3 and 4, and your final perk, Headhunter, helps increase your total HP cap in order to complement all that extra healing. This loadout is such a meme, and it's incredibly selfish as it only helps yourself, but it is oh so fun to use. You can also use nearly the same setup on some other heroes, but they won't have the same tier 3 and 4 as those are unique to Shinobi. Another meme build I run is with Varangian Guard, I call the Medic build. The critical items here are the perk Rising Dawn, along with Speed Revive and Protected Revive feats. This means that you revive teammates 33% faster, meaning you get them back in the action incredibly fast and are hard to stop. Then, once you revive your teammates, you raise them to life as an absolute monstrosity who gets up with 75% of their maximum health and receives a 75 HP overshield for 15 seconds. This essentially means that you revive a person at roughly 25% more than their total health cap, and completely terrify any enemies in a teamfight. There are plenty of heroes where you can get a combination of 2 of these abilities, but Varangian is the only one who has all 3, Speed Revive, Protected Revive, and Rising Dawn. For you heavy hero mains that just want to act as an 800-pound ball of rubber, you can use this fun build, particularly on Warlord. First, run Bulk Up for a higher HP pool. Then, you can synergize with the feat Tough as Nails, which raises your total health pool by 15%, and together you increase your total health a noticeable margin. Next, run Bastion and Vengeful Barrier, giving all that extra health some damage resistance and further survivability after Revenge. Finally, you can run the feat Juggernaut for even more damage resistance, and regenerate as the tier 4 to casually regen that hard-earned damage of your enemies. Just try and kill me. Don't worry, I'll watch. Alrighty, that is going to be the end of today's video. I know it was a long one, but we need to make sure to explain everything for you newbies out there. I would like to thank you all so very much for watching. Your support for the channel is unrivaled. As always, take care, and don't forget to join the dark side.